This class, we are starting with Principles of Management, BAM 101. This is an introductory class, and being an introductory class, we are going to expose ourselves and know what business is all about, the elementary aspect of business. And you can bear with me that whenever anyone is on business or anybody is doing business, the person is in business for a particular motive. So by the time we'll understand in today's lecture what business is all about, we should be able to know the reason why businessmen are in business. There are certain definitions we'll look at before we proceed. Let's look at some of the concepts of business. Let's look at what want is all about. Want. Want. So you can bear with me that in most cases, people may need a particular item for a particular reason, for one reason or the other. But there are certain times, most cases, you find out that there are certain wants or certain goods people will want. If they don't have it, the world will not come to an end. They can move on. But there are certain or certain needs which are basic necessities of life, which we cannot do without if it wants. For instance, now, in the 80s, when the handset has not come up, so you find out that wristwatch, people are moving around with wristwatch to know time. But now we have handsets that has time. So invariably, the idea of wearing wristwatch to a large number of people is no longer their need because they can do without it, but rather is a want. The idea of having a motor car or bicycle or machine is not is just a luxury. It's not a necessity. It's a want. The idea of eating one particular food or the other, though food on itself is a need, but where you have choice, maybe you can drink tea this morning, is a matter of choice. So invariably, the variety of food you want to eat is not your need, but what is your need is food. So we move to needs. Needs are those basic necessities of life which we cannot do without. Example of needs, one, food. Without food, we need food. We need to eat food for us to be alive, for us to be able to be energetic and do our daily necessities of life. We also need shelter. We must sleep in a house. For those of us that are listening for this class now, if you are not living in a very comfort apartment, you may not be able to attend to this class. There are some people that slept under the bridge. They've not taken their bed this morning. So you can't invite such person to come and listen to this kind of lecture. The person will not be concentrating because certain basic necessities of life are not met in his life. Another example of need is clothing. We need clothes. Or for instance, if he's in a classroom, I can see some of you can equally see me now. If he's in a classroom environment, maybe I am naked coming to class to lecture, what will happen? All of you will run away that something is wrong with this man. So you find out that the idea of putting on clothes is a basic necessity of life. It's very necessary in the life of every individual. So from there, we look at goods. A businessman is in business in order to produce goods. If he's not producing goods, he is producing services. So goods are those tangible things, those things that are visible, that we can lay hands on, we can touch, we can feel. These are goods. Example, carton of Indomie, cement, sugar, cartons of sugar, food items, motor car, buildings, and see and touch. They are goods, and they are being manufactured by manufacturers. Another thing is services. If you're not producing goods, like I told you before, you are into services. Some people are rendering services. Like what I'm doing now, lecturing you online, is a service. It's a service. What I'm doing, you are not seeing it, you can't feel it. You can't even touch it. Another example of service is hospital. Those in the hospital, doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, they are rendering services. Another example is hospitality industry. Hotels, accommodation, you book for accommodation, you lodge in a hotel, you are rendering a service. Transportation is another good example, whether land by air, by sea, or any other a rail line, and so on and so forth. You are also rendering a service. You cannot see the service, but you are enjoying it. So from there, we move to making choice. In life, in most cases, because our wants, human wants, are insatiable, there is no person on earth that will tell you that he or she is comfortable at the level he finds himself. Even Bill Gates, he's still looking for more money. So because our wants are insatiable, so we are confronted with the idea of choice. We choose one particular thing at one point in order to satisfy our immediate curiosity. And at one time, we forego certain alternative in order to attend to the other one. Now, having given you a brief introduction of what want is, needs, goods, services, and the idea of making choice, then what is business? What do you understand by the term business? According to Brown et al. In 1997, he defined business as all the activities of an individual or group of individuals in producing and distributing goods and services to customers. Remember, I told you, as far as I am concerned, as far as management of JPTS is concerned, this definition by Brown is not complete. Any business, because some students normally make this kind of mistake, take correction now. Any definition without stating the motive of embarking in that business, that definition is not complete. From this definition now, I can call it a non-governmental organization. I can see it as a charitable organization because the motive, the primary motive is lacking in this definition. I take it again. It says, Brown et al. 1997 says that business is all of the activities of an individual or group of individuals in producing and distributing goods and services to customers. Look at now, everybody is indoors because of the COVID-19. Government is providing palliative measures. Some non-governmental organizations, they are also doing the same thing, churches, and so on and so forth. So you find out that all these people that are moving out, distributing, producing goods, and be sharing to people, are they making profit? No. From this definition now, those people can fall in this kind of definition. Rotary Club, non-governmental organizations, some of them are producing goods and services, and they are distributing it to people. But they are not making profit out of it. They are not making profit. So any definition of business, you must add there that the person or the businessman is in that business for the aim of making profit. We move on to that. Business wants to know your needs. A businessman is interested in knowing your needs, your wants, your goals, value, etc., before they can sell their goods to you. Because as a businessman, I am not producing for myself, neither am I producing for my family members. I am producing for the members of the public. So, and because of that, I must seek to know some of those things my customers want, and I do it exactly the way they want it. Because you are serving the public. If you are serving your own interest and that of your family members, you will be out of business. You must do it the way your customers want. So like I told you before, some of the examples of goods and services we have is some of the goods we have handset goods. I have treated all this area before. Services, we have education, doctors, traveling, lodging in hotel, and all that. Now, what can business do? A lot of activities happen before goods and services get to your doorstep. A product, not just made by a day and fines, it has to be stored. When you produce goods and services, after producing it, you have to store it. So invariably, warehousing is necessary in the course of producing goods and services. So as a businessman, you must organize. Before you start producing, you must organize what you are producing. Organize your staff, organize your warehouse, organize your logistics, organize your material resources. Not just your material resources, even your capital resources, you also organize it. Those individuals that are going to help you in the course of making things happen, in the course of producing goods and services, you need to organize them as well. From there, we move to manage. After organizing them, putting them in place, you begin to manage them. You begin to manage the resources, you begin to manage the individuals. After managing them, you put the right person in the right position, the right resources in the right sector, the right resources in the right department. Because every department will not have equal amount of money. Money is being budgeted and allocated to various departments and various units based on their needs, or based on their immediate needs. From there, we move to production. It is the responsibility of business to produce those physical items you and I are using. Example, radio, wristwatches, etc. It is the idea of a businessman to produce all these goods. After producing it, what happened? You begin to think of how to market it, how to sell your product. On that note, we move to marketing. So business involves advertising, distributing, and selling those products produced. Those products you have produced, how do you intend selling them to your customers and to your various clients if you are into services? So let's look at resources business use. I made mention of it in the past, but I will still repeat it. A businessman makes use of human resources. By human resources, I mean the individuals that are helping in the course of producing and selling those goods. We have salesmen, we have accountants, we have managers, as the case may be. Then materials. We are looking at those materials that are needed in the course of producing goods and services. Some of them could be in form of fixed assets. Some of them could be in form of raw materials like building, offices, stores, raw materials for production, and so on and so forth. From there, let's look at characteristics of business. Number one, exchange, sale, or transfer of goods and services. After producing, you are not producing for yourself, like I told you earlier on, neither are you producing for your family members. After production, you have to devise a mechanism of sending those goods and services you have produced to their customers, to various locations. You to distribute them using various means. Distributors will warehouse it. You now begin to split it into various units to your wholesalers until it gets to the final consumer. Wholesalers to retailers, retailers to the consumers. That's how you ask yourself. Something like a Nigerian bottling company now, for instance, there is no street in any part of this country that you will go without seeing Coca-Cola products. Why? How did they manage to move the product? After production, they have distributors who will come to their factory and lift all these products and move it to their various locations and to their various areas. Then wholesalers will come from there, buy from them in large quantity and move to their various locations as well. Then retailers will locate these wholesalers and also buy in the large quantity and begin to retail, sell in large quantity, small quantity, smaller units, and even in one bottle, as the case may be. By so doing, you see the product, then you find out that the product has ended up circulating in every corner of this country. That is exchange. Profit motive as a characteristic of business. Like I told you earlier on, if you are in business without this primary aim of making profit, you don't know what you are doing. The primary aim of a businessman is to make profit in business. Then number 3, dealing in goods and services. So for every organization that is business oriented, it must produce goods and services. So characteristics of business, for the fact that you are in business, if you are not producing goods, you are rendering services. And in most cases, you can also do both. Number 4, uncertainty and risk bearing. As a businessman, you are facing uncertainty at every given point in time. Not only facing uncertainty, you don't know what will happen. You don't know what will happen to some of the goods that you are importing. Certain things, a lot of people have imported goods in the past without that goods getting to its destination. So you find out because of that, they're embarking on risk. So they're embarking on risk. So uncertainty, as a businessman, you're also facing uncertainty. That's where insurance comes in. You are not sure of what will happen. You are facing risk. So you now pick up insurance policies so that if anything happens along the line, the insurance company will come to your aid. Then number 5, continuity and regularity. Continuity and regularity. By the time we'll start treating kinds of business, you will note the difference between a sole trader, partnership, and a joint stock company. So you find out that the ultimate aim of every business is to continue to exist. What happened to some of these organizations, one-man business, maybe immediately the owner dies, that will be the end of that business. A businessman is always striving to continue, to remain relevant in business and to be regular. Not in a situation you go to one shop, in the case of a one-man business. Madam, do you have a pig milk Holland? You hear Kosi? I don't have. Kosi is a Yoruba term meaning that I don't have. And you find out that that particular person, for the fact that customers have started asking you for that particular product, next time a serious-minded businessman should make sure that that particular product is available. By the time as a consumer, I visit that shop first time, second time, and get this response, Kosi, Kosimbe, I don't have. Next time, I won't bother myself going there. So a businessman is always trying to be relevant, explore various opportunities. Having said that, let's look at objectives of business. Objective of business, profit making is there. Survival, profit making, I have explained that so many times. Survival, I'll skip it, I'll move to number 2. Survival. A businessman is always striving to survive, to make sure that his business exists and move to the next level. Growth, number 3 rather. Growth, you are always striving as a businessman to make sure that you are growing that business, to make sure that you are not going into extinction, to make sure that you are progressing, moving from one-man business into partnership, maybe from partnership to a private company, from private company until you get quoted and become public. Market share, number 4. As a businessman, every product has its own market share in the market. Because when you look at it, look at a soft drink, for instance. Coca-Cola has their own market share. 7-Up has their own market share. Biggie Cola, the new one that was established by a Nigerian, Biggie Products, Chapman, and so on and so forth. Lacasera and others. So you find out that all these are brands of soft drink. But each particular product has its own market share. Even within Nigerian Bottling Company, that is makers of Coca-Cola, you find out that they have so various products, Coke, Fanta, Sprite, and each of these products has its own market share within the same establishment. We look at productivity. A businessman is always striving for increase in his level of productivity. You want to continue to produce and produce. Number 6, innovation. As a businessman, you are always striving to create new avenue of improving in your product. Okay, look at what our president just did. We are receiving lectures offline, but as a result of this COVID-19, he has devised a means of delivering lectures online through this process. It is a kind of innovation. Not that it has not been in existence, but it's a new thing in this part of our country. If the issue continue, you find out that a lot of institutions will copy what we are doing now. That is innovation. But we have started it. For the fact that we have started it, others will follow. Next point, employees' welfare. A businessman is always striving to improve on the employee's welfare, because if you don't improve on the welfare of your employees, after training them, you find out that you have ended up training workers for other people to employ. They will leave your services and move to other establishments after training, after spending money and time and train them in the job. That is why you see competition going on in the banking industry. Zenith Bank will restructure and increase the workers' salary. Before you know it, Access Bank will follow them and do the same thing. Access Bank is not following them to do the same thing because they have a lot of cash to waste or to lavish. But they are doing that in order to protect their employees, so that their employees will not be attracted to that high salary and move to Zenith Bank. Next point, we look at service to consumers. As a businessman, you are always striving to make your service to be more efficient and proactive in delivering them to your customers. Social responsibility. Social responsibility is a full course. In the course of this class, we'll still treat social responsibility. You are operating in a particular environment, selling and making money. At one time of the day or the other, you need to do what? You need to find out and find a way of giving back to the society, especially your host community. Let's look at your role as a consumer. Your role as a consumer, your interest is to go for the best quality that will satisfy your immediate want, that will satisfy your immediate curiosity. You cannot see except where you don't have money. You can't see where there is where you have original product and you begin to embark on maybe buying on fake and adulterated products. Nobody does that. So let's look at your role as a wage earner. As somebody that is working and receiving salary, what is your role? You want to be recognized. You want to make more money and be recognized. You want to be respected. Respected so that whenever you talk in public, people will regard you as someone who knows his own, someone who has the money, somebody who is working, somebody who is footing his bills. You are not dependent on anybody. You are independent. You are the man of your own. You are footing your bills. So another point is great deal of money. You will have enough resources to take care of your needs. So your contribution to the business depends on the following: your skills. What kind of skill do you have? The job market. Do you have what it takes to be in such organization? What kind of skills? What kind of what can you bring to the table to make sure that the organization is moving forward? Another thing is personality. Personality matters most in what you are doing. I remember in those days when a good number of companies will be trying to come up on board in order to convince members of the public that they have what it takes and they have good directors and people that are highly respected in the society. You find out that they begin to put names like Chief Emeka Anyoko. These are individuals that are highly responsible and respected in the society. So you find out that they are not part of the business, but they are attaching their names to be part of the business because of their caliber of person, because of their personality. So another thing is your interest. As a wage earner, what is your interest? What is your interest in life? Are you interested in a particular job because of money, because of what you will get from it? Or are you in that business because of passion? Are you there because of passion or because of what you can get? So it is just a motive that has to be taken care of. Let's look at who benefits from business. When you talk of who benefits from business, we are looking at business owners. The business owners benefit because they are making profit. Employees are benefiting as well The employees, number two, employees are benefiting because they are also making money, working for the organization and receiving salary. Government also benefit from the business because they are paying stamp duty, VAT, value-added tax to the government, business permit, radio and television, and so on and so forth. Some of even one-man business, some of these shops, they pay business permit and one kind of tax or the other. So government also benefit. The general society also benefit from business. So from there, let's look at the concept and management and the concept of business management. Let's look at comparison between administration and management. We have to be very fast. I'll be very slow because some of you are just new in this class. So subsequently, we have to move on in order to finish our course content. Administration. Its main function include the formulation of broad objective plans and policies, whereas management are getting the work done through others in order to achieve the set goals. As administrator is formulating policies, management is making sure that those policies are properly carried out. So we also look at administration is basically a policy and decision-making function, while management is an execution function. As administrators are making policies, management is executing those policies made by management. Administration is important at the top level of management, whereas management is more important at the middle level. What do I mean by that? You find out that administrators are always at the top, dishing out instructions on what to do. But management is always at the middle level, implementing those decisions formulated by the administrators. We also have types of administrative organizations. We have line organization. Line organization has to do with an organization that authority flows from one single person on a straight line until it gets to the least person in the organization. Take, for instance, from managing director of a company. Managing director of a company will issue instruction to the deputy, deputy moves it to the general manager to senior manager to manager, manager to executive officer. It continues in that order: clerical officers, secretaries, and messengers, up to the cleaner. That is line organization. So we also have line and staff organization. It's a combination of line organization and staff organization. Authorities relationship, that is true authority and advisory authority, coexist at the same time. Advisory role from staff authorities, from a staff organization, follows simultaneously with that of a line organization. So let's look at organization as a theory. In organization, we have planning. Before you start off a business, you have to plan. You have to look at it from various angles, how much it will cost you and things like that. Planning. When you plan, you organize. You organize, you command, you coordinate, you control. That is how Taylor now came up with what he called 14 principles of management, which has to do with number one, division of labor. Under division of labor, you are dividing or you are grouping jobs into various segments so that in order to encourage specialization. People will now specialize in a particular kind of job. And before you know it, we now begin to have experts in that particular job. Authority and responsibility. Number two, authority and responsibility. Under authority and responsibility, an individual, maybe a management staff, will give out instruction. There are people whose responsibility is to carry out that directives. Look at now, our management have decided we should go on and conduct these online lectures. That is authority. They have given the instruction. And we, the facilitators, have taken that instruction by making ourselves available to deliver today's lecture. That is responsibility on the part of facilitators. Then the next one is discipline. Discipline. Every organization don't take the issue of discipline, every organization takes discipline as a serious issue, because you have to monitor your staff, you have to monitor the way they come to work, their attitude towards work and all that. Utility of command, unity of declaration, subordination of individual, remuneration, they will receive salary, centralization, chain of authority, and so on. From there, we look at kinds of business. Under kinds of business, the first one we shall look at is sole proprietorship, one-man business, one-man business. We call it sole proprietorship or sole trader or one-man business. No matter the name we give it, in examination, you should understand that what we are referring to is one-man business. The definition is that a sole trader is almost the same from different authors. The definition varies from one author to another. It is a man, one person, that has ventured into business for the primary motive of making profit. The primary aim there is to make profit. Let's look at some of the features. He organizes the business. The business belongs to him. The profit he makes from the business is for him alone. He does not share the profit with anybody. Liability. Liability. His liability, he takes care of his liability